So good morning, everybody. You're very welcome back to this morning's virtual join-in coffee morning. God, is this week 6 or week 7 since we've been doing them, and the weeks have been flying through. So my name is Noel Davidson from the Entrepreneurs Academy, and I'm delighted to be a host this morning, which actually is a very special day because the normal format was that we'd have a guest speaker in who's an entrepreneur who has set up their own business and is telling their story, and we're getting inspiration and a few tips and tricks. And it suddenly dawned on us that the person that we have this morning has done all of that, but we only know her as the head of local enterprise in Kildare. And I'm delighted to actually sit in Jacqui's seat this morning as the fireside chat and the person throwing the questions. Jacqui, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Noel. Good morning.
And, you know, so many people don't know that. I know you for nearly 10 years, where we were QED training before now the Entrepreneurs Academy, and you and I met on many different occasions on many different business supports where we were getting people together in the one room. So I'm going to open up with that. You might tell us a little bit about Jacqui and over 20 years in business before 4 years with the Local Enterprise Office now, isn't it?
Yeah, 4 years with Kildare County Council this month. So those who wouldn't have known me previously might, be led to believe that I'm actually being public sector, and I haven't. I ran my own business, and I certainly understand what it's like not really being sure where next month's wage is going to be coming from, or constantly out of my comfort zone and selling. I hate selling. Always could never afford it, but always reckoned I'd be absolutely super rich because I was good at what I did, I felt, and I was confident at that end, but couldn't sell myself for nuts. It was just petrifying to me. But I did it for 20 years. That was after a career in Waterford Glass, because that's what my first job was. I was a designer with Waterford Glass. And so I would have spent much of my teenage years doodling on copybooks, and my mother would have asked me to decide what I was going to be, and I wanted to be an artist. But I was told quite quickly that there was no money to be made being an artist, and I'd have to decide on something that brought in a wage, because we grew up, and I suppose like many people, I was born in the 60s. We didn't have much, but we didn't know we didn't have much because nobody else had it either. My mother would have liked me to have got a job as a secretary. But my father was a plasterer, and all my family are from the construction industry, and he was self-employed. And what I remember about him being self-employed was, he worked incredibly hard. And to this day, now my father's passed away 20 years, but to this day, I can still smell plaster on wet clothes, cement on wet clothes. And that to me was my father coming in after being drowned after a day's work. But he had to go because we'd know there was no money as self-employed. And he had TB at a time. And I remember being out of work for 9 months, and having the good fortune to have St. Vincent de Paul deliver hampers to us. So, being self-employed, I've always been very conscious that it's a hard road to navigate. Very rewarding road, but a hard one to navigate.
And as long as I've known you, Jacqui, that you always came across as a people pleaser. I always remember you would open every conversation with an apology. And I mean this with respect to you. You'd always say, look, I'm sorry if I can't help you, but I'm going to try. And I've seen this both with, you were head of Carlow Chamber of Commerce at one stage, weren't you?
Yes, I was indeed. So I was in Waterford Glass for nearly 7-8 years at a time during the strike. So I was 2021 when I had to pass the picket line for 3 months. It was I grew up there, I think, very quickly, and then went to work for Carlow IT for a period, for the Enterprise Board for a period, and eventually in the Chamber. But yeah, I suppose if I were to look at what I do and do my biggest criticism is when I can't help somebody, when I get frustrated when things are out of my control. And I suppose many of the financial instruments that we use to fund businesses aren't designed by myself or my team in my office. They're dictated by government and government policy. So we often get a fund that I can't deliver to everybody, and I get frustrated, as my clients do when they can't access something. But we endeavour to be as flexible as we can. But I suppose I'm constantly want to deliver, and my team want to deliver, but there are times we disappoint people, and I don't take that disappointment well.
Yeah, and I get that about you, and I delighted that we opened up with that, because I think we've quite a few people in the room. We've got 53 people actually on the call this morning, and I think sometimes we forget that the people that are here to help with the government supports have been in the same shoes as the people they're trying to help, and very few people would know that about you, Jacqui. So what I'm going to do, we might return to that a little bit, but I am going to put up, which the theme this morning was, some of the finance and grants that are available. So I'll work the slide deck for you if you want to go through them. So there is so much available since March with the COVID supports, that we thought we'd go through them one by one this morning, and we'll take some questions, Jacqui, if that's okay, towards the end.
Absolutely.
And see how we go. So I'll let you open this up. The first one then is, where are you? For those that don't know, where is the local enterprise office in Kildare?
So the local enterprise office in Kildare is situated in County Buildings in Naas. And we have been one of the departments, in fairness to my team, we haven't been, while we have done some remote working, we've never been off a day since the 12th of March. And many of my team have yet to use their holidays. Thus has been the I suppose the demand on the office, the demand on our services. So we're on the 7th floor. So if you're looking at that building, it's on the roof. It's on the roof. We're on the 7th floor of the building. It's a beautiful building to work in. It's much emptier now than it has been, because we're one of the only departments fully in the building due to COVID restrictions.
That is there, yeah. And we were talking about the physical address, but I think it's really important to remind ourselves of the virtual address, because the content is changing nearly on an hourly and daily basis. So localenterprise.ie/Kildare. And the banner is changing with all the things that are happening on priority. But the big thing that we can see there is that training and supports is back open. They're being delivered virtually at the moment.
Yeah,
and we'd urge everyone to keep an eye.
We went from training 1,800 people physically last year to this year. We went online pretty much with yourselves. Were the first. No, we went online. I think that the second week in March, as we were concerned that we were going to be locked down. And we've now trained in excess of 3,500 people to date this year. So a phenomenal uptake. It was something, to be quite honest with you, like many businesses. You wouldn't have convinced me last year it would have worked. It was by necessity we went online.
Yeah.
And so much so that while I do miss contact, and I think some of our programs would be better delivered, management development is one of those in particular that needs, peer-to-peer interaction, and you don't get that the same way online. But I can't see us ever going back to 100% physical, because it suits an awful lot of people to get their business information and development at home and online. So it'll be a blend going forward, please God.
Yeah, I'd agree, absolutely. So let's bounce into what is it you do in the local enterprise office?
So the local enterprise office is a department offshoot of the Department of Trade and Enterprise, and you can see our Taoiseach. So ultimately, Leo Varadkar is my boss. And if one had an issue or complaint about my office and wanted to go all the way to the top, it would be to Mr. Vradker. My budgets come from the Department of Enterprise. There are 31 local enterprise offices across the country. We all work and operate in the same rules and structure. Some of us have more staff than others, depending on the population of business community that you serve. There's a mixed variance of progress. I'm very proud to say, like, we run the Lean program as all offices do. We've trained 59 companies and funded 59 companies to adopt Stuart Nelson's Jigsaw program, the Lean for Micro. And it's been invaluable to many businesses to, I suppose, rationalize their operation and be leaner about how they deliver their product and service. So we're top of the table in Kildare out of the 31 Leos in the delivery of that. We've delivered to 59 businesses and continuing, and we're actually recruiting for another Lean for Micro, and we're actually subsidizing it in full at the moment for businesses. So I'd urge anybody that's interested in reviewing how their systems run and operate, or physically how their operational floor is spaced out and how they can be more productive, that they look at Lean for Micro before this year ends, you know, so that they can go into 2021, you know, leaner and fitter. Yeah. But that's where our money comes from. We're under a service level agreement. We weren't always in county councils. That's only a service level agreement in the last 5 years. Minister Hogan in his day wanted a one-stop shop in each local authority. So that's what has each office is in a local authority or aligned to a local authority. So I have two bosses. I have one from the Department of Trade and Enterprise, and I have my Chief Executive, Peter Carey, who's equally is my boss, and an absolute pleasure to work for, because he truly has business interests at the heart of every decision that we make in the council.
Yeah, super. So I just want to acknowledge Jim McAllister sent me a private message with a question. Jim, we have your message and you have your question. I'll put it to Jacqui there towards the end if we can. So Jacqui, you might talk about this. Some of the stats, you know, are really impressive just for Kildare.
Yeah, so this year alone, we've invested nearly $750,000 through startup grants and expansion grants. I'll be talking a little bit about those. We've funded 82 businesses. Would you believe it? 82 business people have invested in doing up their shop front this year. I mean, last year we did 71. So 82, even during the lockdown, people managed to get their shop front more enhanced. As I said, over 3,000 businesses availed of the online training, and 786 have availed of one-to-one mentoring. I suppose, all that I'm a leader. My job is to lead a team, and that team have worked extraordinarily hard to get these stats to the business community. We didn't have what we called a business continuity voucher previously. It was brought in by the government nationally to assist people create strategies to work through 2020. And we spent 1.75 million funding businesses through that process, as indeed 1.14 million has been invested on trading online vouchers. Last year, Noel, as you'd be aware, each local enterprise office delivered something in the region of 40 to 60 vouchers per office. This year, we have reached 562 vouchers. So that's where 1.14 million has been invested in Kildare businesses alone. So it's a phenomenal amount of money gone into businesses, but it's also a great testament to the work that's been done by the team in the office. But we're delighted to be able to get that money out. And the trading online voucher, I'll talk again about that into the slides.
Yeah, and I suppose that's the reason we're here today, that we wanted to just draw a line and say, this is what we've achieved so far, but there's so much more, you know, and that's to make people aware of it. So we'll kick things off with it. So let's go through some of the finance and grant options then. So
we might just go through the slides from here on. Yeah, and I'll talk you through them, Noel.
Perfect.
So, yeah. So There is, in the main, the local enterprise offices have a funding stream from the Department of Enterprise to fund manufacturing and international traded services under 10 people. So these 4 options are dedicated by the Department of Trade and Enterprise to those type of businesses. And so we would fund up to €15,000 or 50% of market research, product development for feasibility. So where you have a business idea and you want to prove it and you fall into manufacturing, or there is an international opportunity for you to sell your product or service, the feasibility study can be used to prove that. And we have an awful lot of existing businesses this year for the first time who've re-looked at their operations, decided to pivot and have accessed the feasibility study. Priming grants are for businesses less than 18 months old. And again, it's to purchase capital equipment, salary and support costs for employees. Now, again, and this is where you've heard me, Noel, apologize. Unfortunately, if you're not in manufacturing or international traded services, I or my colleagues don't have an opportunity to make these available. But we have funded these particular grants up to $750,000 this year. And again, businesses that are expanding, and there have been many expanding this year, which is always great to see when there's so much frustration and upset amongst the business community, that there is some good news stories and good opportunities out there by many. And again, now the technical assistance grant, that has been underutilized this year. And one of the reasons was that an awful lot of people who use that technical assistance grant used it last year to export and go to trade shows, and they haven't had the opportunity. But some have been using it to translate their website into other languages in order to be more attractable to an international market. And so I would urge people to look at that.
Brilliant.
I have a closing date for this year of the 26th of November for that technical assistance if people are looking for it. Now, Aoife will share all these slides with you at the end of today's piece.
That's perfect. That's grand. So the TOV, something that's very close to my heart, the Trading Online Voucher.
Yeah, the Trading Online Voucher, that had a stop-start life in 2020. And the reason being, it's a fund that actually is in the ownership of the Department of Communication. And we get fed through the money. So when we have exhausted the money on the Trading Online Voucher, we need to close it. Now, thankfully, we've reopened again because we've given an indication that we've further funds. So we have funded over 500 businesses, but we'll continue to fund more businesses through November and possibly into the first week of December. And then I imagine the department will shut it completely for 2020. But the Trading Online Voucher, I imagine, will be back. No guarantee, but will be back in 2021. Now, it may not be in its present guise, which is a 90% funding, which has never been in existence previously. And that was to get as many people online as possible during COVID. It's up to 2,500 or 90% of the cost of putting your website up online or improving its online capabilities. So we have had people come now for a second grant application on the top to enhance their existing operation. But you must demonstrate some improvement on what you've been doing previously. So again, the next Trading Online Voucher briefing is the 10th of November, and you need to go there. If you haven't been to an event previously, it is the place where you get your application form. Unfortunately, again, or fortunately, the department put it as a criteria, and that really is to get some guidance and wisdom on how to apply for the application, but also to get some insight on the best use of what you could do with the money. And as I say, the Entrepreneurs Academy, have been to the forefront in the country delivering this for us and for other local enterprise offices. You need 3 quotations. So I would always urge people, the 10th of November, you need to attend the briefing, 2 hours. but there's nothing preventing you going out, looking at other websites, seeing what works, what doesn't work, what you like about somebody else's, and going and getting your 3 quotes and having everything ready to come in. Unfortunately, you will delay your application if you do not send it in its full format. There's nothing we can do. If you don't have the application with your CRO number, with your tax clearance cert, and with your 3 quotes, you'll delay it. So I would urge people to have a look at the website, look at what you need, and get everything ready.
And 9,000 applications since March have been received. So it is working. It is popular. So the closing date there, it's a rolling date. The end of each week is a deadline. So we'll move on then to Shop County Kildare with the theme of digital.
Yeah. So again, while I head local enterprise in Kildare County Council, I also head economic development as a department. And Shop County Kildare is one of those initiatives that we have spent public money to support businesses in Kildare, not only to get up online if they already don't have a website, but it was an opportunity, particularly when we couldn't give vouchers. We funded the development of Shop County Kildare, which is a one portal for Kildare shops and services, I might add. So if you have a service to offer, put it up. It's free of charge to get up online. There is a commission for sales after that, but that's just to keep the admin on the site going. I think it's about 5%. It's run by COVA, who are a partner with us, and the guys there are doing a superb job in onboarding people. You can pull up as many photographs as you like, and the sale element and the back end is perfectly secure to conduct all any sales that you might need. And we're getting great response. I mean, somebody responded to me the other day to say they got their first sale and it was from Canada. And with that, we also have a Shop County Kildare media campaign. So you'll hear us urging local people to shop and think Kildare business on KFM on a daily basis.
Jacqui, I just noticed a couple of questions have come through there, and normally we keep them to the end, but because there's a few of them starting to pop in, we might as well take them as we go. So Jacqui O'Malley, is TOV, the Trading Online Voucher, export business only? Jacqui, it's not. It's encouraging you to become one, but it's not. No, many local businesses availed of it. How long do you have to have your company registered to apply for the Trading Online Voucher? You have to be trading 6 months or more. So that's the minimum criteria. Trading 6 months or more. Bobby Harper, Trading Online Voucher is for any business looking to use e-commerce, not just restricted to export. Thank you, Bobby. I think you were answering the question earlier. And a few people were asking what TOV stands for, which is the Trading Online Voucher. Etienne, we see your direct private message there. I'll answer that directly now shortly. Alison Cummins, can we use the TAME to translate other marketing materials, i.e. packaging?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. If you want to send me in an email on that, I'll have a look at it. But also, Trading Online Voucher, unlike the other initiatives, it is for any business, any sector under 10 employees. That's the criteria again. But an awful lot of retail have used it, an awful lot of service industry have used it, gym owners have used it. It's for micro enterprise under 10 employees, and yeah, it's been used widely. And the idea is to open you up to a wider audience and even open you up to a local audience during these lockdown periods.
Yeah, and answering another question there, when is the next seminar? Is Tuesday the 10th of November. Register at localenterprise.ie/Kildare, and there's still some spaces available on that. Microfinance Ireland, Jacqui.
Microfinance Ireland, it's not a grant, it's a loan, but it is a loan used by many businesses currently to purchase stock, revigor some cash flow. It is a loan of 5,000 to 25,000. We facilitate the application forms for Microfinance Ireland. It's a loan from the state. We put a mentor and line in with you to fill out the application to ensure you every opportunity. It's not an easy process, but it's not an onerous process either. You need to work with a mentor to get the information. together. What I would suggest to you is that microfinance look for viability in a business. So they're looking at historical trading to give them an indication that you're going to trade outside a COVID norm, and effectively you'll be able to pay back the loan. So if you're being asked questions or you see the application and you're wondering why they're asking this or why they're asking that, it's a loan. And what they're doing as stakeholders is ensuring that they're not going to lend it and lose it. And so but it is a very, very useful and effective use of public state funds. And I think we've about 500,000, nearly 500,000 have come into Kildare-based businesses since March. And it's been open all year.
So one of the questions that we had there was, what does TAME stand for? So here it is on the website. It's Technical Assistance for Micro Exporters Grant. And all the details are there on the website underneath financial supports. Mick there has asked, I have let my trading online voucher, the expiration date for accepting the voucher. You have 14 days, Mick, rightly you pointed that out, to accept the voucher. Do I have to repeat the whole application again? Mick, I'm going to say contact the guys in the office and they'll work with you on that one. We'll see what they can do on that one. So let me bounce back up again. And the Restart Grant, Jacqui.
Okay, so Restart Grant now, unless government come back and give us an extension on this finished on Saturday night. Restart and Restart Plus. What Restart Grant was a reimbursement of rates. So if you were a rate payer, if you had a rates bill from Kildare County Council or from any local authority, you effectively got reimbursed your bill of 2019. So for those that don't, I had this discussion with a client this morning who felt very aggrieved that he couldn't get the Restart Grant. But he never paid a rate bill in 2019. So there isn't really effectively any inequality. Those that paid it simply got back what they paid in 2019. So unless you'd like a rates bill in 2020-21, I wouldn't lament not getting the restart if you don't pay rates, because it really effectively was a reimbursement of your rates.
Yeah, and to answer the question is, why are we putting something up that just finished last Saturday, is because it's changing every day. You know, in the next day or two, they could announce an extension or something new. So we just wanted to keep that in front of mind.
The other reason, to be quite honest with you, was on the back of the conversation I had with someone this morning that wondered why they couldn't get the Restart Grant. And that I'm putting it up by way of information. This is a reimbursement of commercial rates. So people will see a lot of media around supports and not understand maybe why they were refused. And I feel explaining is really important to people so that they're not feeling that they've missed out on something. So as I said, if you didn't pay rates in 2019 and you didn't get the Restart Grant, you've missed out on nothing. It was a reimbursement of rates.
No, that's lovely. Thank you. So the Enterprise Support Grant.
Okay, so the Enterprise Support Grant was €1,000 to those. It was a once-off payment, and it was to those who didn't have a restart but wanted to restart their business, and it was for sole traders who got the unemployment payment scheme. And it was through the intro office and still available through the intro office. €1,000. So if you're restarting your business, and you should talk to the intro offices, it will, however, cease your unemployment payment.
Yeah. Micro Enterprise Assistant Grant.
So I suppose I'll take credit for this particular one. It's a national grant, but it's a national grant that I went to the department about. There were people for some reason who were running businesses and employing people, but couldn't get the PUP payment, that $1,000, and they couldn't get a Restart Grant because they didn't pay rates. And this Micro Enterprise Assistance Grant was to give further €1,000 to those that couldn't get the previous two grants that the government had brought out.
Yep.
So again, that we process those, but the application is central and it's on micro forward hyphen enterpriseassistance.ie.
So one of the common questions is about mentoring, and I'm just going to go back into the chat here, Jacqui, if I can. Graham has asked a really good question. Does your mentor continue to work or liaise with you after a successful Microfinance Ireland loan grant? How can applicants get a mentor that matches with the business background?
Okay, so that's a really good question. When Microfinance approve a applicant, they always link it to mandatory mentoring. But microfinance dictates what mentor you get or what sector specific mentor you get. So I will be notified that Jacqui McNabb Inc. Has been successful in getting 25,000. But within the next 6 months, she must get mentoring in marketing and finance, because they have obviously seen through my application that those were two areas that I would and should improve on. And they asked me then to allocate the mentoring. So that effectively almost comes as a mandatory piece with 90% microfinance. Rarely do we get an approval through without mentoring. That's not to say, however, that if you haven't been awarded mentoring, that you couldn't get mentoring from us directly. We've mentored 784 people in all sorts of disciplines and sectors throughout this year, and that's available to anybody who is seeking it. They just need to indicate what area they need assistance. So it's about self-identifying in many cases where your weakest link is in your business, and we align a mentor to it.
Caroline Cullen has asked, is it possible to get a mentor if you haven't applied for microfinance?
Yes, mentoring is a staple of what we do.
James McAllister, he's apologising because he has to go, so I've gone run back to his message. He's saying, hi Jacqui, thank you for this morning. I was made redundant in July. I'm now looking to set up my photography business and have purchased approximately 5k in equipment. My question is there any supports available apart from mentoring, such as the back to work allowance if I was to come off the COVID payment? I can't risk losing all my income in the meantime. Okay.
I'm going to answer that as very quickly, conscious that you're leaving, but I urge you not to leave just for a minute, because as somebody, if you've been unemployed, through the intro office, there is a enterprise support allowance separate to any COVID payment, which is available to those that have been unemployed but wish to start up their own business. And there is through the intro office, there is enterprise support allowance. If I'm not quite sure, what I would suggest, because there's a timing issue from when you register your business, and without probing too much, if you would send an email in to us, I'd be better able to advise you, because it's really important that those seeking enterprise support from the intro office haven't registered their business prior to looking for that setup of €5,000.
No, that's super. So James, I hope you got that just before you left, and he's just messaged back and he said, yeah, he hasn't registered yet, which is great.
Good.
Good, exactly. But send a little email in there, James, and we will we'll see if the guys can help you. Also, one of the questions he asked, will the recording be shared? Yes. So all the little lean in lunch virtual coffees are all recorded and they're put up afterwards. You can see that on the website, and I'll show you the link to that later on. 2 or 3 more questions just before we move on from the TOV. What's the lead time from the trading online voucher from submitting the application? That's from Niall. Jacqui, you guys have nearly got that down to nearly 2-3 weeks at this stage, isn't it?
Yeah. We were at about a 2.5 week stage around the 30th September, because we had over 100 applications in for the deadline, the original deadline, before they opened it up again. Now we can turn them around in approximately 2 weeks, but it's very dependent on your completeness of your application. I mean, we had an application come in on the 30th of September. but it wasn't ready, and it wasn't ready to be able to review until the 12th. And so the client held it up by those 13 days, not our office.
Yep. Anna Malai has asked, I've started a new bookkeeping and outsourcing company in Maynooth. The company started in June 2020. Am I eligible for a trading online voucher? Not yet, Anna Malai, I'm afraid. You have to be trading 6 months or more, but that date is coming quick, thick and fast. So from, I think, December or whatever the 6 month threshold is. And you have a second question which says, am I eligible for a capital grant to buy a computer or server for my office?
No, unfortunately, professional services such as accountancy practices were prohibited to fund nationally, and that's around displacement because, yeah, it's around displacement of jobs and being fair to all accountancy practices.
Jacqui, as you said earlier, and I remember something my dad used to say, Lord Mayor said, he used to say, don't waste a good crisis. And during the last couple of months, people have been updating their shop fronts. You mentioned earlier on. So the Shopfront Grant, you might talk about that.
Yeah. And again, the accountancy practice, if they're on a main thoroughfare, they can get up to 5,000 or 50% of the funding of painting or new signage for their premises. 75% if they put any accessibility improvements into the building, such as improving the steps or rails going into the building. Now, again, there was a closing date of Friday the 30th, but we're still, if there are applications that wish to get in this week and there is money remaining in the pot, we'll still review them. But I'm also flagging that this is an annualized budget from Kildare County Council, and it opens up regardless with a brand new budget for 2021. So next year, if you envisage painting your shop, changing any signage, and that can be shop or office that's on a main thoroughfare, you can apply to us for funding for that.
Oh, that's super. That's great. And we have a couple of pictures of the before and afters of a shop front. There's one, and there it is afterwards.
And so they did a fantastic job. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super. So the innovation voucher, Jacqui.
The innovation voucher, again, this works in tandem with people looking at pivoting or trying to come up with new ideas, new products. We work with Carlo IT in the main on innovation vouchers, and it's €5,000 of a voucher to develop a prototype. You can work prototyping. We tend to do with Carlo IT because the fantastic design studio there. If you were doing skincare ranges, you'd possibly be sending your product over to Mayo to get some testing, and you'd use an innovation voucher for that. So again, keep an eye, have a review of the detailing on these particular schemes, but innovation vouchers are around all the time.
Yep. Other ways that you can support, and we mentioned the website earlier on, but you might go through these again to remind a few people.
Well, again, I suppose I would urge everybody to sign up for the newsletter and to be checking in on the website. We do an awful lot of training and soft supports, particularly currently around management development, strategic direction, again, customs and Brexit training. I would urge everybody, if you are getting any product, regardless of exporting, if you're getting any product in or supply in from the UK or that comes through the UK, please ensure that you've got some customs training done so that you understand the kind of costs that are going to be incurred or the delays on your supply chain. Data protection, GDPR, again, compliance in that. We're recapping it again on that. Lean, I mentioned Lean Principles and the work that we do with Stuart Nelson and his team. Digital marketing is ongoing, bookkeeping and taxation and business management. And again, you may see courses booked out. Send us an email, tell us you're interested, and we deliver on demand pretty much for every discipline.
So one of the questions there about where we can watch the recording, I've just put the link into the chat. It is available online. Let me grab the screen grab if I can. Give me 1 second and I'll throw it up. There we have it. So there is a page on the Local Enterprise Kildare web page, and you can see that the previous coffee mornings that we had with Sean Gallagher, Gavin Duffy, Joanne Hession, Greg Clark, and then our own one will pop in there as well there this morning as well. Let me bounce back then to our little slide deck if we can. So expert business mentoring. You mentioned business mentoring earlier on, Jacqui, and how important it is.
It is. It's immensely important, and we provide mentors of all different disciplines. That's just some business strategy, financial planning, and we match up particular companies with specific needs. But mentoring is not a course you should go down if you just want to chat about business. If you just want to chat about business, we'll arrange a business advice session for you free of charge. Mentoring is a specific area because we match mentors of specific talents. So I'm afraid if it's just general and I give you somebody a financial and you get online with them, have a chat and think that they can answer the finance aspect, and then you have a question on marketing, they may not be able to do that effectively for you. So if it's general advice, look for a business advice session. If it's specific area that you need and you're in trouble with, then look for mentoring and let us know what the area of mentoring you require, and we'll line them up.
That's great.
For you. Now, can I just say, for anyone that's starting a business or about to start a business, please do not endeavor to do it without doing the Start Your Own Business program. It is a quick and easy and effective way of ensuring that you've got every element of support and that you're made aware of what's available for you out there. So even if you've just put your toe in the water, start your own business, and I would respectfully say, even if you feel you've started one previously, if it's a new business, you should really do the Start Your Own Business program first and foremost. And we advocate that before you take on any mentoring, because it will save so much time and give you better clarity.
Back to the Shopfront grant. Regina Roach Condell, what if location is not on the main thoroughfare?
Unfortunately, the elected members have just made funding available. So send for thoroughfare. So if it's out the country, unfortunately, we can't. Now, I mean, I signed off on one for Rat Coffee this morning, and that's fairly. It may not be considered remote, but it's fairly. It may not be considered central, but it's central in Rat Coffee, if you like. So let us know where your business is, and we can determine whether there has been funding made available.
So Bobby Harper has asked, are there any training vouchers or plans for a training voucher available?
No, in terms of training, giving funding to people to get their own training, the scheme that's available is through SkillNets Ireland. So SkillNets Ireland provide funding to businesses directly to get their training done in-house.
That's super. Let me see if we've got one. It's a business park Regina's mentioning. She's in a business park.
Yeah, we're hoping in 2021 to try and get further funding to enhance business parks. So, let us know. Currently in 2020, there was no budget made for business parks, but it may be next year.
So Angela Lee has asked, I've applied for a partial capacity benefit and I'm waiting to hear back after being on long-term sick leave. If successful, I hope to register and start my own business. Are there any vouchers or grants that I would be eligible to apply for?
Yeah, again, depending on the business that you're going to start. But again, twofold. If you've been on unemployment, you should get the enterprise allowance support from the intro office first and foremost, and then go for a trading online voucher, for mentoring, for training. The same apply to you, regardless of your history.
Yep. Linda Young has said, Annie, are these supports all over the country? Please.
Yeah, they are. So our budget supports Kildare-based businesses. And if you're a Meath-based business, while you're very welcome to Smorning, or indeed a Dublin-based business, while you're very welcome to Smorning, you wouldn't be able to pertain of these supports directly from here, but you would be from your own local office.
Yep. So you apply to your local enterprise office. Colin Gamble, is there a grant available for taking on an apprentice? Oh, sorry, her name is Jenny, but it's named differently on Zoom. So Jenny has asked, is there a grant available for taking on an apprentice?
There is, Jenny, and again, not directly through ourselves. the money for apprenticeships has been given through KWETB. So you should have a chat with KWETB because they have a partnership done with the department, the intro office, and they fund apprenticeships.
Aileen Maher, how much is the technical assistant grant?
Up to 2,500 or 50% of the spend, pending on meeting the criteria.
That's super. And you're getting a huge thank you from Linda Young in response to that other question. Are these supports around available over the country? Because she's saying she's a national organisation and she'd like to pass those on to the other members. So thank you, Linda, for that. One thing that's unique is, Jacqui, yourself and your team in Kildare are doing things unique for Kildare. And one of the questions is, how do you keep on top of it? We mentioned the website, but also there's a newsletter, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a newsletter and it's e-sign. We that's the way to keep on top of it, and certainly follow us on social media, because Aoife Horn, you know, if she's not Instagramming, she's tweeting 24/7, 7 days a week, and those that follow her will get a message about local enterprise on a Sunday morning, on a Saturday night, on a bank holiday Monday, and any day during the week. And certainly she's somebody that works closely with me, as I said, 7 days a week. She's super girl.
No, she is, absolutely. And to Jacqui and her team, on behalf of the local enterprise offices nationwide and the Entrepreneurs Academy, it's great to see so many people working so hard. And I think this morning was important to actually have a little inside view into the people behind some of the supports that are there. Neil Shirt has asked, our business is located in South County Dublin, but with COVID, we've moved back to our home in Kildare. And sure, why wouldn't you, Neil? Absolutely. We are pivoting and changing what we do, but in the same field. Can we use the TOV to change our current website? The answer to that is yes. That word pivot became one of the most used words because that's what everybody was doing. So, Neil, the answer to that is yes. James is saying thank you both for our time this morning. He has to go, but we're nearly bang on time. We normally do this for about 45, 50 minutes, so we're nearly there. And the rest from Jacqui O'Malley, Paul Ryan, Carolyn Cullen and Neil are all saying thank you, Jacqui. So your last slide is exactly that. It's you saying thank you. So I'm going to let you close out the session, Jacqui, if that's okay.
Yeah, thanks a million. And Noel, we're a very small team here. We're a team of 6 people. As you can see, we've serviced nearly 7,000 SMEs in the last 10 months alone. But we do that with a huge stakeholder group, professional training, professional mentors, such as, you know, the Entrepreneurs Academy and yourselves, Noel, who've been hugely supportive to turn around product and service for us this year. Auxilia and the guys there with Michael, as I mentioned, Stuart Nelson, you know, and Linda Gilrine at the health and safety. There are too numerous to mention. So we've a really great group of people who we trust, and that's really important. I have to trust the people that I work with to take care of the clients that we serve, to deliver a service. And so we thank the groups of people that we work with and trust them greatly to get us this far. We've another, we're not finished yet. We've another 7 weeks of ordinary operations, and we'll endeavour to get as much support out to businesses as possible. But I'd urge people to be thinking 2021 and to be thinking strategically, whether it's pivoting, whether it's extending their existing business, whether it's leaning their existing business, and send an email in, local enterprise. We'll endeavour to support and assist wherever we can, and if nothing else, direct and signpost to areas that best might support businesses. So I'd like to thank everybody, all 60, for joining this morning. We'll have that slide distributed. Aoife will do that for us, and again, the recording will be live. You know, if there's something that you're concerned or worried about, send us a message to Local Enterprise and we'll endeavour to answer it.
Jacqui, thank you very much for your time this morning. It was great to sit in your seat. It's normally you that's asking the questions this morning, but it was a real pleasure. And by the chat there, quite a few people are saying thank you to you and your team for everything you do. So we'll see you on the next Lunch and Learn, or the Lean In. It's not a Lunch and Learn. That's the main one at lunchtime. It's a Lean In coffee morning, unique to Kildare, of course. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. And again, can I urge you all, as you finish this conversation, to go back maybe to 15 minutes up to 12 o'clock, go back onto our website, go through the training and see what you can avail of to get you through the next 5 weeks, and stay safe. God bless.
That's great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Slán.